Any comments regarding the general conference session? Well, I mentioned a little bit this morning. The reason I didn't go is because I know a lot of the inside issues, and I just get frustrated that we're going the opposite direction. We're giving pastors more and more authority over their congregations, so and the congregations less and less authority to decide for themselves. That happened since 2015. Modifying and change. We've made it easier to commit adultery with the least amount of consequences possible, to get remarried and get adultery remarried, a divorce remarried, divorce remarried. The tendency is to go toward the world and make it easier and easier to live in sin. Not letting the delegates speak, this is not appropriate. When delegates bring up a subject, it is appropriate to be able to deal with those concerns, but they just hush them up and don't let them do that. And the fact that most of the delegates, I heard 57 are employees. Employees are scared of losing their job. They can't speak up. If they speak up, bam, there's consequences. So you have about 40-something% that are lay people, but that's the minority. Secondly, if you are a delegate to the GC, they try to make sure that you're in agreement with everything. Dr. Conrad Vine, he was a delegate at the last GC. They uninvited him. But he was a legitimate delegate. But they said, we don't want you here. In other words, if you have a different idea than the direction they're going, they don't want you to be a delegate. So basically, it's rubber stamp. Not 100%, but as much as they can do it. And I get a lot of questions regarding the new GC president, because he was a South American division president, and I know him very well. And if Donald Trump means anything to you, that's basically the personality we have at the GC presidency now. I won't mention here some of the nicknames that he has, but some of his own team members have used some pretty harsh nicknames to represent a dictator. And so Ted Wilson was a little bit weak as far as his ability to put his foot down. He was a good man. Ted Wilson was a good man that, just like Eli, did nothing about some of the things around him. But he wasn't a bad man. Today, this man, I couldn't say exactly the same thing about him like Ted Wilson. There's been a lot of things covered up and everything. We're definitely taking a turn for the worse. But God forgives. God can speak to him. But so long have things been covered up in the South American division, money disappearing, immorality, and other things, that definitely, I myself, I'm not God, I can't read his heart, but from the fruits, we're definitely going to accelerate in the church in the wrong direction. And it's not going to be optional. It's going to be by executive order. So Donald Trump likes giving executive orders, so does this man. Nobody could breathe in a South American division without his permission. So are there good things that happened? Probably. But generally speaking, the ship is headed the wrong direction. And I think very soon, most people are going to have to make a decision. Support the system or go on your own. I think that's coming real fast. But I'm not God. It's only my opinion from experience with the man. But there's good people at the GC too. I know several of them that are very consecrated, very good. So I'm not against everybody. But I've got a lot of questions. I didn't go this time because from what I'm hearing, I get upset. If I'd have been there, it would have been worse. So my opinion is the church is going in the same direction as fast as possible. Now it's going to accelerate in that direction. Back there, and I'll come back. The assistant is now been voted in, and the assistant to that department certainly got along with his boss before, and I don't expect it to be very much different. And if they didn't have a guy that would go in that direction, they would change him. But when this president we have now was president of the South American division on what we call Hope Channel, they call it New Times Channel. It's not Hope Channel in South America, it's New Times. Anyway, they broadcast on New Times an ecumenical movement, that meeting that they had with all the president of the Mormon Church, the President Baptist Church, Methodist, Presbyterian, Jehovah's Witnesses, Catholic, and they had in one of the biggest Adventist churches. This president said, I worked for 2 years with the head of the Mormon Church to make this possible. And they introduced all the leaders of the churches. And the last two that they introduced turned out to be satanic churches. They were invited to the meeting too. And it's interesting, just out of curiosity, all of the presidents of all the churches were men, except the 2 satanic churches were women. Just an interesting little anecdote there. So Satan likes to do everything opposite of the way God does things. But anyway, to invite satanic churches to an Adventist church, I'm sorry. I will clearly state my disagreement with such a decision, just because their churches invite Satan into. No. So ecumenical movements are one of his specialties. So we're going to be going together with all the other churches in that direction in an accelerated, well, we don't have a lot of time now. At this point, it's almost too late to turn it around. And can a big ship turn around in a small river? No. So a big ship has been going the wrong direction for a long time. It takes a long time, 50, 70 years to get back to where we were. And it's not going to happen. God's going to clean house. That's God's problem. It's not our problem. You and I can't fix it. But God knows what to do. So we'll leave it in his hands. Let's just pray that God will purify his church,